What radio? The music you want.
With your host, Keys Dan.
Do I offend?
RadioWhat.com. What's up, party people? It's Keys Dan with RadioWhat.com, DJLittleRock.com, coming to you live in a living color from the Radio What Studios. And this is my podcast, What Makes You Famous. It's an extension of the RadioWhat.com internet radio station that I've been running for quite some time. And if you need DJ services, where do you go? DJLittleRock.com. Check availability and get a free price quote. And maybe you can have me, yes, me, at your next event. I like to party with the people. Let me entertain you. Why am I singing? 'Cause I'm happy. That's why. I'm having a good time talking to you. Hey, today on the program, Ethan Jones. Why is Jones so familiar? Not because it's one of the most popular names ever, but I also had Annie Jones on the podcast, his mama. So we got two generation of Joneses on the program, and you got that to look forward to in the next few minutes. Let's see, it's Tuesday right now. This week's shows on Thursday, I'll be at the Old Post Barbecue in Russellville, Arkansas from 6 to 9 for the family-friendly video dance party karaoke jam. They got the best barbecue in the whole wide world, in my humble opinion. They got some frosty beverages for the adults, but you know I keep the music family-friendly, so bring everybody to the Old Post Barbecue in Russellville, Arkansas, starting at 6 o'clock, and we go until 9 in the p.m. Be there. It's a good after-school treat. I tell you, on Friday night, it's the adult show. That's right. Over 21 at the Rab in Conway, Arkansas. That starts at 8 p.m. and we go till about 2 in the a.m. That's the video dance party karaoke jam. Yeah, I said karaoke. You're the star of the show. They got the full bar, the kitchen. They got hamburgers and chicken wings and Jersey Girl pizza. Check that out. And then on Friday nights, I'm there, and they got the pool tournament as well. 10 diamond class professional pool tables. I don't know much about pool, but it looks really cool to me. They got some great pool tables, and if you want to make some money, you might try checking out the pool tournament and learn how to play pool and maybe make a couple bucks while you're hanging out at the Rab on Friday night. On the party patio, they got shuffleboard, foosball, giant Jenga game, giant checkers game. Don't miss out while you're waiting to sing on the stage with little old me. It's a video dance party, karaoke jam, and the dance floor is open. That's the Rab on Friday night from 8 till about 2 in the a.m. And then on Saturday, I'll be up at the Choctaw VFW. You know why I like going to the Choctaw VFW? It's not just the good people, because they are good people. It's not just a good, fellowship, good room that they got there, because it is. But I like saying Choctaw. They got a bar. They got a little bar food. If I'm not mistaken, they got some pool tables as well. There's bingo set up. I think they do bingo every once in a while. So if you get tired of singing karaoke, which never happens when I'm over at the Choctaw VFW, we can always break it down and just play bingo. B9 under the 9 B. No, see, I can't do the bingo calling. I haven't done it in so while. Let's try that again. Reverse it. B9 under the B9. There, I could have been the best bingo caller ever over at the Choctaw VFW. That starts at 9 p.m. and I think we go till at least 1 in the a.m. I know, it's a good time. I usually get there a little bit early anyway. Choctaw VFW. Be there Saturday nights. All right. I know. You've been waiting. Let's talk to Ethan Jones. Calling Ethan Jones now.
Hello?
Ethan Jones, please.
This is he.
Hey, it's Keys Dan with the What Makes You Famous podcast. What's up, man?
Hey, I'm doing good.
Yeah. Ethan Jones, tell the people a little bit
Yeah.
about who you are, man.
So, well, I recently was a watchmaker, but I just recently got a job at Mears Jewelers. So now I am a jewelry sales associate.
That is cool as can be.
Yeah.
So that's the mini blurb, who Ethan Jones is.
Yeah. There's a lot. But that's just a kind of a quick rundown.
I get it. And usually when I've been trying to figure out a structure, and I think about Wikipedia pages and how at the top of the Wikipedia you have a paragraph or maybe two that give you a summary of what the page is about. And then when you get into the body of the page, you go into the history of it and where it's at now and where it's going. Now, you are, I mean, I know I talked to your mama, but you are an interesting person all in yourself. And I'm going to give credit a little bit to your mom because she's raising a good kid, but you are becoming the man that you are, not just because of her, but through other things. Meep1111. I'll go ahead and give the Instagram now so people could follow along. And it says that you love cars, watches, and shoes. But if I look down your Instagram, it is taken over by watches. All kinds of watches. The coolest watches that I've ever seen. Tell me more about the watches, Ethan Jones.
Yeah. So I'm a huge fan of watches in general, and I do like cars and shoes, but cars are a little bit harder to find. You know, it's not like you can run into Lamborghinis every day. And I love shoes, like sneakers and stuff, but, you know, they're also kind of expensive when you get to, like, the rare Jordans and stuff like that. So, sadly, I don't have many pictures of those. But with watches, it's a little bit easier to get more pictures of and to be able to handle them more often. And so, yeah, when I was around 14, my uncle gifted me this watch from eBay. And what was cool about it is that you could actually see all the way through it, through the mechanism and everything. And so I was interested in it, and I decided to take it apart, play with it, and then, you know, put it back together. And it was still working. And so from there, I kind of looked further and further into watches and watchmaking and how all that was done. And living in Miami, there was a lot of high-end boutiques and watch places to see. So I started just going to all these crazy places. And, you know, soon enough, I was going to private dinners, getting offered champagne at 16 while I'm holding a $100,000 watch. And, you know, having to refuse them because I'm like, oh, no, I can't drink. I'm literally 16. You know, I'm not, you know, people didn't believe me. And even today, I'm 20 right now, and I'm still having to tell people, like, yeah, no, I can't go to the bar afterwards or whatever because I literally can't drink. And it blows people away because I think I am pretty considerably young for being in the field that I'm in, especially after already going through a full career change as well. So, yeah, there's a lot to unpack.
Yeah, the watchmaking business in itself, I don't know if there's much of a call for it, but you likened me to okay, I grew up in Miami, full disclosure, and I know that there's $100,000 cars. If you just go to the beach, you're going to see them going all up and down the strip. So for sure, you could find the cars, and you could find the shoes. I remember. Okay, I grew up in the '80s, so I'm considerably older than you are. And my first pair of Air Jordans, I had to beg my mother, and they weren't even $50 back then. Okay,
Jeez.
I was begging my mom for $11 Converse, from Jay Byron's, which was a store in Miami that used to be around back then. So shoes and cars, I'm into it, baby. And watches,
nice.
I used to like the Swatch watches a lot because of the same thing, that you could see the innards in some of the styles of the watches. And I'm very fascinated. I used to take apart my toys, but I wasn't quite as good at putting them back together. And you got that skill from your uncle? Is that right?
Yeah. So it kind of began when he used to get old Xbox 360s, and he loves tinkering and stuff. And what he would do is he would get broken ones that were overheated or had some problem, and then he would take them apart and figure out what it was and fix it, and then resell it as like refurbished. So he'd make a little bit of a profit and get cheap, gaming consoles and games. So of course I loved it because I love games and whatnot. And he would just kind of sit me down with him and show me how to solder things and how to fix stuff. And that kind of led my curiosity for mechanical stuff and tiny mechanisms and stuff like that. So he had a lot of watches as well, but he didn't really consider himself like a collector or anything like that. But the ones that he did have were pretty interesting. And so, like I said, he gave me one, and I just decided to take it apart one day. I looked up how to do it online because you can do that for everything now. And I took it apart, put it back together, and surprisingly, it still ran. So I decided to just keep doing it as a hobby.
Ethan Jones, this is a skill to have. Now, this is a wristwatch that you're putting together, something so small that you have to have nimble fingers and a magnifying glass, I'm guessing?
Yeah. I have like a 10 times magnifying glass for my eyes. And I used to have to file my screwdrivers and my tweezers like to a needle point almost, to the point where like it would even tell us like in safety I guess briefings that we had to be careful around our eyes because we could easily like poke our eyes out because of how sharp everything is and how precise it is. So it's basically like, imagine surgical tools but being used for watches. Like that's how perfect everything had to be.
Dig it. Very intricate. Now, what was your uncle's name?
Manny. We called him Handy Manny.
Handy Manny. That's fantastic. Great
Handy
show.
Manny, yeah.
Learn how to speak Spanish using Handy Manny and Dora.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Exactly.
Or I guess in Diego as well. I guess I'm likening to that. Was Handy Manny, was he Spanish too?
Yeah, he was.
Okay, if I'm remembering correctly. Yes, I remember. I watched it with my daughters. That was fantastic. So, yes, Handy Manny. Got to get big shout outs because he gave you your start in the curiosity of taking things apart and putting things back together. And you were able to put this watch back together. Now, do you still have these watches, or what's in your collection, Ethan Jones?
So the original watch, I think I might still have it. I have to double check. But I know that at a certain point I decided to modify it a little bit and change it up. But I don't remember if I still have it or not. I have to check. But I do have a whole bunch of other. So, basically I took out the movement, which is like the inside of the watch. I kind of compare it to like the engine of a car. Yeah. So I took that out and I redid the polishing on the case, which is the actual watch itself. So think of like getting a paint job for a car. So I redid that, and then I actually made my own watch strap out of denim, just because I hadn't seen one like that before. So I decided, let me just try it. So I did that, which I guess you kind of compared to like changing the tires on a car or something. So by the end of it, it was a whole different looking watch, but with the original movement inside. And it wasn't really crazy special or super well done, but it was unique, and that's kind of how I got my start.
This is what a watchmaker does, man. If you're going to be good at something, if you're going to do something, be good at it. And you're customizing this watch, and it was something that you could already see through and see the innards. And now, how did you customize the outside of the watch? The denim strap sounds amazing, by the way. Yes, I've never seen a denim strap, and go ahead.
I think there might actually be a picture on my Instagram. I'm gonna check when I'm talking, but yeah, I customized it by giving it a brushed finish. I basically just took a nail file and filed against the steel case, which of course isn't the way you're supposed to do it, but that's just kind of how I did it in the start. But so yeah, I did a little bit of that, and that's pretty much how it all came together. And with the denim strap, I had a pair of jeans that I didn't need anymore or something, and I cut up a patch of it, and I looked up some tutorials online on how to make your own strap. And so I did that, but with denim instead. And it was an old pair of Levi's. I'm going to see if I can find it, because I even left the Levi tag on the outside, so you can tell that it was a Levi jean. But yeah.
Now, was this all under the supervision of Uncle Handy Manny?
No, actually, this was all just on my own at home. Like after I come home from school, I'd just kind of hang out and do that. And I'd probably just go on and talk to people on the phone or on Skype or whatever and play some games. But yeah.
Now, how long did you apprentice with your uncle before you started going off on your own, tearing things apart and putting them back together?
Well, that's the thing. I never really apprenticed with my uncle for watches, at least. It was all just on my own. He showed me all about the different technical stuff, or I guess more technological stuff, like the Xbox and other kind of machines like that. But he never really taught me about watches, so I just kind of looked it up myself and just did that on my own.
All right. I'm looking at all these watches, and I'm guessing the ones that have your hands are the ones that you've actually held. Have you been in contact with every one of these watches, or are some of these stock photos?
So yes, every single watch on my Instagram is by my photos. If it's not my photo, I'll say it, but every single one is taken by me with my hands, and that's the actual watch. So like I've seen some crazy watches just because I've been able to talk to people and tell them about the fact that I want to be a watchmaker, or that I know so much about the watchmaking industry. I was able to kind of get in and see some cool, interesting stuff.
All right. Well, I know you've graduated from watchmaking to a whole nother field, but tell me how big did you delve into the watchmaking itself? You had a job as a watchmaker?
Yeah. So basically, I guess I'll start from the beginning.
And from when to when? How old were you? Yeah.
So, like I said, when I was 14, I started getting into it, and around 16 is when I was really delving deep into it. And that's when I started going to events or parties and stuff like that. And they would host, like brands themselves would host little get-togethers to kind of promote their brand and hope that some of the partygoers will buy their watches. But it was also a place for people to just kind of gather, and not many people really go crazy over watches. So when you have all those people in one room, it's nice. It's a nice get together, So I started going to all that, thanks to my mom, because she would drive me like an hour away into the city to go do all these things, like weekdays and weekends and stuff. So I'm thankful for that. But basically in high school, I started doing just my at-home watchmaking stuff with some very simple, cheap tools that I had bought. Mm-hmm. And I would have friends give me their watches to fix. So I kind of practice on my friends' watches, or even just have people give them to me because they don't want them anymore, just to keep them. And so when I was around 17 or 18, that's when I started looking into going to college. And for me, college wasn't really my thing. I never felt comfortable with it. So after I graduated, I went to one semester of college during the summer semester. Mm-hmm. And while it was okay, it just didn't feel like it was for me. So
what was your course of study back then?
So it was I think I just took a entrance to college, like college readiness. And I took that, speech, and Spanish.
What school?
The speech class at MDC.
Oh, yes. I think I went there. I went to the Kendall campus myself. Yeah. Okay. Continue.
Yeah. So I kind of realized that it wasn't for me, the whole environment. It wasn't my thing. And I really did like the speech class. Like I was actually one of the best, one of the top students in there. And I wasn't really even trying. So I kind of realized I have a natural kind of a knack for talking and just being able to be, charismatic, I guess. So I decided to apply online at a watchmaking school in Miami called the Nicholas G. Hayek Watchmaking School. And Nicholas G. Hayek is the one who created Swatch. So
Wow.
he also created watchmaking schools. Yeah, he created watchmaking schools so that the tradition of watchmaking doesn't die out. And so I just applied on a whim, hoping that, maybe if I get this, I won't have to go to college, and I'll just see where that takes me. So I did get in, to my surprise.
Yeah.
So I thought that it was I couldn't believe it, So I went, and before I got in, I had to do an interview. There was an 8-hour interview where I had no experience with any of these things. So they asked me to go and just file some pieces of brass to like exact, down to the 1/100th of a millimeter precision and stuff like that. And they asked me to take apart a watch and put it all back together within 40 minutes on a watch that I've never seen before. So it was all very, very new and very scary. And that same day I was actually sick. So when I left after 8 hours, I was just like, I didn't get it. There's no way I'm going to get in. I felt terrible. But, luckily I did get in along with 5 other people. And that's when I started my watchmaking training.
Ethan Jones, sounds like you've learned from the best. And how was the experience of, because Swatch was big time. When I was growing up in the 80s, I guess Swatch had just been invented. And was he Swiss, or from Switzerland?
Yes, Swiss.
And you're learning Swiss and precision. It just goes together like ham and cheese, Swiss and watches. You're learning from the best. And it sounds like he went to the basics. I know when I went to radio school, the first thing I learned how to do was cut and splice tape, even though that computers, I went to radio school again later in life to learn the new things, but they still took me back to the basics. And it looks like they took you right down to, making your own tools to do the job. Yeah. And that's the way to go. Is that school still around?
Oh yeah, it is. It's still in Miami. If you look up watchmaking school Miami, it's the only thing that pops up pretty much.
Excellent.
But yeah, it was really interesting because, like I said, it was me and 5 others. And it was a 1-year program, which isn't as long as, college and stuff. But the thing is, the catch is that it's a 40-hour week for a full year training. So I basically worked a full-time job for a whole year without getting paid. Yeah. And having to, I had to buy a car, which, that was a whole mess because I bought my first car, and then
I'm guessing it wasn't a Lamborghini.
No, sadly, I can only afford a Ferrari. No, but no, I got a. So yeah, that's another interesting thing. I got a 2011 Hyundai Sonata, nice. Which is a very nice car. The Hyundai Sonata is pretty good. It was decent mileage and stuff, and it wasn't very expensive. But it wasn't until later that I started doing more research, and it turns out that out of every model year, the 2011 version is the absolute worst, and the most common issue that it has is the engine blowing up and catching on fire.
Oh no! So,
yeah, I still have it, sadly, but hopefully soon I'll be able to upgrade to something a bit better. But my engine hasn't blown up yet, which is good.
Oh, we got that to look forward to, Ethan Jones.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's got me from A to B, so that's good.
All right.
Hey, I think
Hyundai.
Yeah. No, that's the thing. I really do love Hyundai. Hyundai to me is a great brand, great value and pretty good build in general. It's just the one that I got was the worst one out of all their cars, just by chance.
Yeah, I remember when they first came around. They were pretty inexpensive cars, and they didn't get a good rep because they felt like, wow, if it's that cheap, it can't be that good. But they were just fine. Yeah, they were just fine. Basic car, basic transportation, all you need to get from A to B. So All right. Tell me more about the experience that you got. And that's the kind of school that a lot of people, including myself, get into. A trade school, something that's going to teach you one thing, keep you focused on the thing that you're already interested in, such as watches or radio or sewing. You go and you get that trade.
Right.
Or building cars, for that matter, or building shoes, for that matter. That's another trade. But you go to school for that one thing without too much learning about math and science. Hey, all more power to the people that know math and science. You're going to save the world someday. But for the rest of us, we'll learn that one thing that we're comfortable with. And for you at the time, it was watches. Tell me more about the experience with the Swiss watchmaking.
Yeah, so basically, it was me and 5 others, and we were just kind of in a classroom. And the first 3 months was strictly about, I can't remember what they called it, but it was like the building of parts. So we had to actually file everything by hand and make our own tools and just go through a lot of really detailed instructions. So, for example, some of our margins were like 1/100th of a millimeter. So it was super, super precise, and it was all hand done. Even some CNC machines have issues getting to that level of precision, and they had to do it like freehand using old traditional tools to make sure we did everything correctly. And it was very hard. I'll tell you that. But I still have all the pieces that I made. It was primarily made out of brass, and they're not the best, but it's kind of nice to be able to look at them and be like, oh yeah, I made that part, or I made that piece for this tool or whatever.
Even if it's not something you're ever going to use, to put it in a shadow box and put it up on the wall just to remind you, that's where I started. That's where it all began.
Yeah.
You're only 20 years old right now, and your whole life is ahead of you. So who knows where that skill is going to take you? And I'm sure it can take you pretty far. Ethan Jones, man, continue.
Yeah. Well, the the other thing was that I was the youngest one that they had ever brought onto into the school, because I was 18 at the time. And what?
Yeah. How old were the other four members?
They were a little older, but I think the closest one to my age was like 26. So that's like an 8-year difference.
That makes sense.
But yeah, it was a little daunting though, because most of the people were already jewelers, or they'd been in the business before and they wanted to go into a different position in the business. But I've had no training other than my own. I did an apprentice under some, master watchmaker, and I was just kind of throwing myself in here and just hoping that I do good. But so, yeah, after the 3 months, the rest of the time of that year was spent doing just watches. So we would pretty much get a watch that has some sort of problem, and we have to diagnose what the problem is and correctly fix it. And then the teacher would, examine everything and make sure that's all perfect. And then the next day we just do it again with a different one, and just over and over and over. And of course we would learn at the same time what different things are and how to properly do different procedures. But it was very intense, it was, especially when you kind of factor in the fact that I had to get my own car and drive an hour to and from this school. And I wasn't really making any money. Right. So it was a little, most people, you can go to college, but you can also work a part-time job or something, and you only go to like 3 classes a week. This was it was a bit more intense.
So how were you able to survive? You were living with your parents, I'm guessing?
I was living with my mom and my brother down in Miami.
Right.
And I had some savings, but most of the savings were spent on my car. Yes. So it was kind of I wasn't struggling, I'm not going to say that, but I wasn't, going out and buying the watches that I've been working on. I didn't have money to be like, let me just go do this or do that or whatnot. So it was a little weird because I had to grow up a lot faster than most of my friends. in the way that, like, you know, and I only went to like one concert in that time, whereas most of my friends went to like 1 or 2 per week. So it was a little weird to kind of get used to it.
Oh yeah, you were living the life of a school kid. Most college kids are broke, you know. But living in Miami, hey, you were living the life, man. I grew up in Miami, and I enjoyed it, every minute of it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only thing I don't love as much about Miami is the heat, but that's kind of, you know, everywhere. Yeah, so, well, not the team. Of course, the actual heat, you know.
I see what you did there. I get it. Yes, yeah. I too look at that big ball of fire in the sky and wonder, is global warming real? Yes, I believe it is.
Yeah, you go to Miami and yes.
Although here in Arkansas, central Arkansas, thankfully, there's a bit of a cold snap, and we've been waiting for it all summer long. So there's a little bit of a reprieve, and I guess you get that when you get to the ocean and get that ocean breeze in your face. You go down to South Beach and hang out and listen to the music and look at the beautiful people walking around.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Well, cool, Ethan Jones. All right, man. So you're watchmaking after you get out of this school. I mean, do you get to go to a job and make some money finally? Because you're struggling right now. You're struggling, bro.
Yeah. So I finished after the many months and lots of hard work. I did the final test, and that was nerve-wracking because it was a 16-hour test.
Wow.
Where you had to do 3 watches within 8 hours, and then an 8-hour written exam. So it was really a lot of work, and it was just we had 3 intermediate tests, but then one big one that did everything. And you know, on most tests you can just study over and over, but on something like this where it's all physical, you know, if you're working on something and you sneeze, you could literally fail your entire test. You know? So it was very nerve-wracking. And then when you have 5 other people doing the same thing, you have to kind of be careful. Like, you know, if you're running around or something to get something, you don't want to bump into anybody and just mess both of you guys up. So it was very, very scary, I guess. But I did pass, and I graduated with 2 certifications. So I got 1 certification in Swatch watches. So pretty much Swatch owns a lot of different brands, kind of like Volkswagen owns a lot of different car brands. And so have you heard of the brand Omega? They're kind of like Rolex's competitor.
I see that you're, what is it, Wostep and Omega certified.
Wostep, exactly.
I must have seen an Omega watch at some point. Are they good watches? Well, similar in quality? Good.
They're very, very good. They're great for the price, very reliable. And so the Wostep certification, I got in school as well. And so when I started working, I was able to work on those watches because those are like pretty high up. Like I said, I would compare them to Rolex. So they weren't, you know, some cheap little watch. But yeah, so it was really interesting because at the celebration or the graduation, everybody went to the the Pelican or something like that in somewhere on the beach. I can't remember the name of it right now, but
I'm pretty sure there's a Pelican there. I think I might have DJ'd there once, if I'm remembering properly.
Yeah, it's like with like a yacht club or something. A lot of boats there, and I can't remember the exact name of it right now. But basically, I had gone there, and we had a big dinner, and it was really nice, and just the whole celebration. But then afterwards, the vice president of sales for Swatch, like the I guess for sales in the U.S., was there, and you know, after we had finished eating, he came over to me to congratulate me, and as he was shaking my hand, he stuffed something into my jacket, and I was like, "What the hell is that?" And so he just said, you know, I forget exactly what he said. But he said, you know, congratulations, and I hope to hear from you soon. And I was like, what? So
Well, in
After I got
Miami,
out,
let's stop. In Miami, you would be worried about somebody stuffing something in your jacket.
Yeah, it was a thick white envelope, and he just stuffed it into my jacket without explaining what it was, and I was like, "What the hell?"
Okay.
And this was after everybody had left, so it was kind of like, "What? Why is this like a secret, or like what is this?" But no, and what it was when I took it out, it was a job offer.
Wow.
So I literally got offered a job at graduation by the vice president of sales. So it's kind of hard for me to say no, you know?
Oh my goodness! And did you take this
Yeah.
right home to your mom and say, "What do you think, Mom?"
Oh, well, I was with them. Like I opened it in the parking lot because I didn't know what the hell it was. And they were all like, "Oh my," freaking out. Like, "Oh my God, that's amazing." And so I did take the job. I called them back the next day and got everything set up. And so 2 weeks later, I was back in there and starting again. And what's crazy about it is that I only had those 2 weeks in the whole year off, pretty much. So it's been like a year, and then 2 weeks off, and then now I'm back starting a full-time job again.
But it's a job that you have been training for a whole year.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
How did that feel?
Yeah, it was really nice. I mean, it was great because they only hired 2 people. So out of the 6 people that joined, only 5 graduated. The 6th one did eventually. He graduated this year actually because he took a retest.
Oh, good.
So everybody was really proud of him because we all have like a WhatsApp chat together with the students. And so I don't know where he's working now, but out of the 5 people who graduated, only 2 of us got hired. So it was me and one other guy. And so we both started together, and it was nice because I kind of already knew everybody, and, I was still learning. So they said, don't worry, if you mess up here and there, it's okay. Well, don't freak out. But it was a good job. It was like I could kind of just sit all day by myself and do my work. But that's also where the problem kind of lied, where it was a great job, but just not for somebody like me. I like being able to talk to people and walk around and just be extroverted. So
gotcha.
I kind of realized, I kind of realized it was a very introverted kind of job.
So good. I mean, but you got a little experience out of that, and that was probably what, last year, maybe?
I started in September of last year.
Right.
And after 6 months of working there, I decided to leave. So I left in April. And, I left on good terms with everybody. And I told them that, I appreciate everything that they've done and how they've helped me. But it's just, it wasn't for me. And it was really hard because, I had a full-time job and I was 19, actually I was 18 at the time, and then I turned 19.
Oh yeah. You had something that could have become a career, and you could, you had to weigh out those options. I'm sure that it must have weighed on your head.
That's the thing, there was only 15 people there, and this was the main service center for, America. So that's a pretty small amount of people who were doing a lot of watches. So there's always a sense of job security. But they were also expanding during that time, so they're going to make more space. So I kind of thought to myself, if I don't leave now, I don't want to really be sitting here doing the same job, 5 to 10 years from now, because most of the people who have been working there were there for like 10 or 15 years. And while there's nothing wrong with that, it's just, I don't want to be here for that long.
All right.
Somebody else can do it fine. I couldn't. So when they're,
That's not your spot,
So-
Ethan Jones. You have to spread your wings, man. A man in his 20s
Exactly.
has to go off and do many, many things before he figures out what he wants to do. And now your Instagram is only maybe a little bit more than a year old, and I've gone all the way to the bottom. And the first picture that you have of you, I mean, I've seen pictures of watches and cars and Disney World and such, but the picture that you have of you is wearing this $300,000 watch. Excuse me. And this thing looks amazing. I know if I go up further into your Instagram, I could see a better picture of it. Tell me about that watch.
Yes. So, God, I forget how old I was, but I must have been like 15 or 16 in that picture. But I went to this place called The Collection, which is in Miami, and it's this very high-end car sales, I guess, I don't know you'd call it, a car dealership, because it doesn't really feel like a dealership. It's even more high-end than that.
Oh, I know The Collection in Miami. I drove by that place drooling every time I drove by.
Oh, yeah. Every time you go, you gotta just take a quick look to see what they have. Not trying to hit anybody, but you gotta check. They have all kinds of McLarens and Jaguars and cool stuff in there. So my grandma on my dad's side was visiting in Miami, and I said hey, let's go to Coral Gables because it's a nice area and we can just check it out. And my grandmother lives in North Carolina, so they don't really see a lot of really cool, crazy cars. So I suggested, hey, let's go over there and just check it out. Why not? So we did, and while we were there, there was a watch company called Hublot. It's spelled Hublot. You drop the H and the T in the beginning and end. Mm-hmm. And so they were there, and at this time I was already learning about watches. And there was a guy there, I can't remember his name right now because it's been so long, but I was talking to him about how I love watches and I love cars, and they actually have a partnership with Ferrari, and they made this watch called the La Ferrari, which is based off the car with the same name. And it is like a $400,000, $500,000 watch. It's crazy. And they had it there as a promotional piece. And I was talking about it, looking at it, and the guy let me try it on and wear it. And I have this picture. I don't know if it's on Instagram or not, but it's a picture of me wearing a watch next to this Ferrari, and the watch costs more than the car. So it's that crazy.
I am looking at it, man. You are just
and that was my first experience with high end watches. So I kind of went straight to the very top,
Oh yeah.
But that was and then from there he told me that there's a boutique in the Miami Design District. And so I found that the Design District has a whole bunch of watch boutiques that you can go in and just see the highest end pieces and just the craziest stuff. And so I started going there whenever I had the chance, and it was like my Disney World, every single store had something different, and they had all kinds of the models and the special ones that you can't find anywhere else. So it was that really helped me kind of grow in the watch community. And that's where I got invited to all these kind of different events and parties and stuff. And it was really great.
Ethan Jones, I know Uncle Handy Manny already gave you some kind of a love for the watches, but I think this might have solidified it. And I know I misspoke. I said your Instagram was about a year old, and I'm looking now. It's 243 weeks, so that's quite a few more than a year. Quite a few more years than I thought it was. But yeah, I'm looking at you, and you are holding this watch. I can't even figure out how you tell time on this watch because it really doesn't have hands on it. Is it digits that go up and down on this watch?
It's there's multiple barrels, I guess you'd call it, and the barrels rotate, and they have different numbers on them, like digits, and so you kind of read it like a digital watch. But it has something crazy where I forget exactly how many days it has of reserve, or power reserve. But the typical watch, when you wind it up, it will run for about 2 to 3 days if you don't keep winding it. Whereas this thing, it goes for like 50 days or something.
Wow.
And they give you a miniature drill, like a power drill, but miniature, so that you can actually like connect it to a nut on the top of the watch, and you could turn it with the power drill because there's so much torque in the springs that you physically can't turn it that much. So you have to use a power drill to actually wind it up, and it's insane.
I'm looking for, and you have to use this drill to wind it. You can't do it with a screwdriver.
No. I mean, you could try, but you break it. But yeah, it comes with
no $300,000 watch. No, thank you. I won't break it. I'll use the drill.
Yeah, exactly. My God.
All right, Ethan Jones, and I'm looking. Okay, I went a little further up, and I can see a little more detail in this picture where you have the barrels. And you're right, you read it like a digital watch, but it's an analog component. It's pieces. It works like a watch.
Yeah.
But it's so amazing. I could see why $300,000 is on the price tag.
Yeah,
but when you got out of school, did you at least get to keep a watch? Did you make a watch for yourself?
So in the past, they used to make their own watch, but they used to be a 2-year program, and they cut it down to 1 year because they realized a lot of the stuff was very antiquated.
Right.
Like they haven't changed the program since the 60s, and a lot has changed since then. So they were able to cut it down to 1 year. But we did actually get a Swatch watch. I got 4 of them. So one for me, my brother, and my parents.
Oh, that's cool.
And yeah, so I got that. And then actually a very good friend of mine, Rocky, his nickname is, he used to work at the Omega Boutique at the Design District. And he's the one who actually referred me to the Swatch school. And considering he's a Swatch employee, it really helped. And I still talk to him all the time. And he actually bought me a Hamilton watch, which is a very nice Swatch brand. And I've actually worked on that exact same model of watch many times once I became a watchmaker. And so I look at that as my graduation watch because, it actually, I worked on it many times. And I know it inside and out, and it's a great rugged watch. So that's kind of the graduation watch that I have.
I know that you had to have learned going to school of the marketing scheme that Swatch had back in the 80s when I was in school, where you would not just buy one watch for yourself, you would wear 2, 3, 4, two or three on your legs, 2 or 3 on your arm, each arm, maybe one around the neck, maybe one as a headband.
Yeah.
What a marketing scheme. They must have made millions.
Yeah. It's crazy, but it began, I believe, with Nicholas Hayek himself because he recently had passed away. But before that, he would wear like 6 watches because he would wear one watch from each brand that the Swatch Group owns. So he would have like 6 or 7 watches all the time just because he loved it so much. And he was like, well, I own the brands. I might as well promote them as well. So it was very, very interesting. Like if you look up old pictures of him, you could probably see him wearing multiple watches on one hand and stuff like that. And that's probably where the idea came from.
Ethan Jones, it's all his fault. He's the reason that I wore so many watches, and all the kids in school had to have them. Gotta have them.
Yeah.
That was big.
Yeah.
That was huge. 83, 84, 85, 86 when I was in high school. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
We had to have the watches. We had to. I wonder if your mom had a watch or your dad.
Well, my uncle did. I know that much.
Very good. All right, Ethan Jones, man, and you're moving on up. You got away from the working on watches strictly. What about the cars, man? Is that Hyundai the first car that you've owned?
Yeah, it is. As for cars, I looked into becoming a mechanic before I was looking into becoming a watchmaker.
Okay,
and I kind of realized that it wasn't necessarily for me. Just because it was too dirty, you know, all the oil and stuff, and it wasn't very precise. I mean, it is very precise, but
Oh yeah.
it wasn't 10 times magnification with, you know, super tiny tweezers precise, you know.
Oh man, watchmaking, you have to have those nimble fingers. I remember there was a guy in Miami. My grandfather used to go to his dad and have his cars worked on over the years. You know, this is a mechanic real close to the Miami airport. And I remember I met his son, who was my grandfather. Oh, no, it must have been his grandson, and he was about my age. And you're talking about dirty fingers. He worked on cars, and he was as nimble as, well, a watchmaker. The only dirt, he would wear complete white all day, wearing white, not a smudge. Just the tips of his fingers was the only thing that might have been dirty on this man's body. It was just amazing to me, the precision that he had, you know, working on cars. But yeah, I understand, man.
Yeah.
I worked on my own cars trying to keep those pieces of junk together while I was growing up. So
exactly.
It's a good skill to have, working on cars. So how far did you get in that? Did you at least take auto shop in school?
So, no, they didn't have that in my school. But my uncle, he did work on a couple cars. He actually has an old Toyota MR2, little sports car. And he bought it for from the junkyard, I think. And over, I think, 4 years, he just continuously played with it and built it up. And now it's a functioning, working car. And it's super cool. And I was always kind of watching, you know, see how he put everything together and work on the engine and stuff. But I never got as far into working on my cars. And so, yeah, I never really did too much of that because with cars, it's a little bit different, you know. If you mess something up, you know, let's say you're driving around and you modified your engine and then it blows up and then you get into an accident, you know, it's a lot more costly and a lot more dangerous than playing with maybe $100 watch and breaking it.
Yeah.
So that's the one thing that always kind of kept me away from doing that stuff. But yeah, if you could do it well, then go ahead. But I do little repairs here and there, like changing light bulbs and I don't know, fixing dents and stuff. So
Ethan Jones, give it up once again for Handy Manny, man. It sounds like he taught you at least a little bit of another skill to help you through your life.
Yeah.
Are you still living with the mom?
No, actually, I think I just moved out recently, and that's kind of the newest path in my life that I'm on right now.
Spreading your wings, man.
Yeah. So after I left the watch, this watch group in April, I kind of coasted for a little while, and I had made a good amount of money, and that was kind of hard part because at that age I was making more than any of my friends. I had a more secure job than any of my friends, and it was really hard for me to leave.
Yeah.
But I saved up enough to where I would be comfortable going for a few months or, just going for a few months without having to do much and just kind of job search. And so I did that. And just recently, 2 weeks ago, I got accepted to work at the Mayor's Jewelers in Boca, up in Boca. And so when it happened, I had to move because it was over like an hour and a half away every day.
Oh yeah, I'm familiar with Boca. That's the bottom of West Palm Beach, right?
Yeah,
yeah.
So basically, I have a partner, and his name is Sean, and so he lives up here. And it's been a while that we've been wanting to move in together. And I always told him, I'm not going to do that until I get a job and I can be a functioning, member of the house. And so I finally got one. And so me and him were actually up in Disney World. And we were there for a whole week because I didn't know. I had done a couple interviews. I hadn't heard back. I did 3 interviews with mayors. I hadn't heard back yet. So we decided let's go on one big, last trip for a week to Disney World. Because if I get the job, I probably won't be able to for a while.
Right.
And as we were up there, I actually got a call, or I got a text from the store director telling me that I got the job. And I thought he was joking because it was a text. I thought they would call me or email me or something. So I followed up, and it was true. I had gotten the job. And so basically we had to come back on Friday, a day early. I got home on Saturday, pretty much packed up all my important stuff, and then went back up on Sunday. And then Monday I started working, and well, I was supposed to just kind of finish everything up with the paperwork and stuff, but he just said, hey, do you mind just working till night just so you kind of get a feel of it? And I was like, yeah, sure. And then it kind of became, every single day. And I just literally worked closing shifts for the entire first week that I was working. And that was a whole, it's been very fun and very hectic, but it's just, they've been telling me that it's very unconventional, the way that they've been doing all this stuff. And so now I'm on my second week of work already. And I love it. It's so much more interesting. And I love being able to talk to people all day about watches and, why I love them, or, what kind of watch they should get based on their personalities and their lifestyle and stuff. So it's exactly what I was wanting,
Sounds like you're heading in the right direction, Ethan Jones. You've got the job, man, in Boca, living the life.
Yeah.
South Florida, baby. And you got a partner there you got a place to live. That's fantastic. And Disney World, man.
Yeah.
I miss Disney World.
Yeah, no, it was great because we went to, have you ever heard of the Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween?
I have not, but I'm sure I'm sure I could figure out what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a Halloween themed thing. And so basically, like at 7, they close the park that day, and you get in at 7, and from 7 until like 1 in the morning, the park is open. So it's super late, and there's a lot less people. So you can just go on the same ride over and over and over when there's nobody there. And for example, like they changed some of the rides. So on the Pirates of the Caribbean, they have actual actors playing as pirates, like yelling at you and stuff. And they have, on Space Mountain, they turn off all the lights completely. So you can't even see your hand in front of your face. And they have a different, like more scary soundtrack and stuff. And it makes the whole, Disney experience a lot more interesting. So, yeah, we did that, and it was just lots of fun.
I want to go to there. It's been.
Oh yeah, no, and they give you. The best part is that like they give you a bag of candy, and you go to different checkpoints, and you get to trick or treat, and you get candy. So we left with like 2.5 bags full of candy, and we've been just slowly kind of going through them. I still have one downstairs.
It's like a kid in a candy store. Ethan Jones. Man.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, man, it's so cool talking to you. I know I talked to your mama, Indiana Jones, and if you haven't heard that podcast, Party People, I encourage you to check back through the feed and look up Indiana Jones and find out more about her and her costume making. I noticed you do a little costume making. Did she make you dress up like Edward Scissorhands?
She did, yeah. I mean, she didn't make me, but I suggested it, and she helped me get it done. And it was, it's always very interesting being with her because, there's been times where I'll come home and I don't know that she's doing a filming at the house, and there'll literally be like a huge white van with a whole bunch of lights and stuff in it. And I came home one time, and there was a full bus, like I don't know what you call it, like a trailer, I guess. Yeah, there was a whole trailer outside the house, and there's just a whole bunch of people in my house, like 10 people doing a film, and I didn't know that was happening. So I was like, oh, okay, fine, whatever. But it's very interesting, and like when she says that like our house is a set, it really is, because there's just different areas of the house that she pretty much has set up for quick setup, so she could film stuff. And I've been in a few short indie films, and there's a lot of the films that she does is based in her house. So like, you go through it, and it's weird because there's a one film that I'm part of where I'm a zombie, and it's weird seeing me as a zombie in my own house being killed, or well, yeah, I get killed in the thing by my mom's friend, and the whole thing is just, it's so weird, you know. But yeah, we love going to like Comic Cons and stuff like that, and people always, you know, stop her for pictures every 10 seconds. So yeah, it's very, very fun.
Well, and you know, why do they stop her? Because she's dressed up in a costume?
Yeah, she's dressed up so well that people, like, we'll be walking and I'll be talking to her, and all of a sudden we'll have like a line of people who want to get pictures with her. So I kind of just go off and do my own thing, you know?
Well, cool, Ethan Jones, bragging on your mama, Annie Jones. Annie's a filmmaker, for those that don't know, and a costume maker and a cosplayer of sorts. She's made independent films. I was wondering if she got you involved in that, Ethan Jones, and it seems like she had. You always tap on your family first, right?
What? Sorry,
you always tap on your family first when you have a project to do, and it looks like she tapped you to be one of the actors. Have you ever held any of the cameras at all, or done any? Have you had any interest in that effect, or is watchmaking and jewelry selling and cars your place to be? Yeah,
that's more up my alley. My brother, though, is probably more into that. He's more of the artistic one. You know, he actually makes his own music and stuff. And he does a little bit of art here and there, but he's a lot more, you know, I don't know, I guess it's like left brain, right brain kind of thing, you know? He's kind of like the opposite of the way I think. So he does a lot more of like video editing or music producing and stuff like that. So he has helped a little bit, but I haven't really done as much.
Ethan Jones, sounds like the whole Jones family is very talented. Are you the people that they talk about when they say keeping up with the Joneses? Is that you?
It sounds like it pretty much. Yeah.
Well, it sounds like whatever you put your mind to, you excel in it. You wanted to build watches, you excelled in it. So much so that one of the heads of Swatch said, "Hey, buddy, I know you're young and you're just out of school. Let me give you this banging job." You know, and it wasn't the job for you, and it could be something that you'll go, "Ooh, man, what if I would have stayed there?" You know, because it sounds like you were in the ground floor, at least of this division of that job. So, I mean, that's something to keep in the back of your head. It's like, man, that was something. But also, it's a job that you probably would be doing the same type of thing day in, day out forever and ever, and you wouldn't have a lot of contact with people. And it sounds like you had a need for at least dealing with people. You're an outgoing person, man. You're a salesman, Ethan Jones.
I mean, and that's the whole thing. You know, that there are some people there who are very good at making watches, but they're also, you know, they don't really talk a lot, or they're just kind of keeping themselves, which, like I said, it's fine. It's just not me, you know? If that were me, I probably wouldn't have come on a podcast and be willing to talk and all that stuff. So that's what I like, is just talking and getting myself out there. But yeah, as for my old job, the reason I left was because they were currently expanding. And so I kind of realized, like, hey, if I leave now and in a few months, you know, nothing really leads anywhere and I need a job again, I can always come back because there's going to be more space anyways. And I'm sure they're going to, you know, be fine with me coming back because I left on good terms. And even now, after I've gotten a job at Mayors, I've contacted some of them and told them, you know, thank you for helping me get to where I am now. And they've all been very, you know, helpful and responsive to it. So that's kind of why I left when I did, because it was kind of a safe time to go. But yeah, it was a big concern at the time.
Oh, you're giving the people advice right there. If you have the chance, always leave a job on good terms, because you never know, man. And those contacts, you never know down the line where you're going to meet up with those people. There's been so many people through the years. There's still people I deal with that I knew in my 20s and even in high school, and I still tap on them, because you always tap on on the people that were closest to you. You know, I'm sure you've developed friendships in high school and such. And
Yeah.
You know, you're going to have these friendships, man. So maybe one, maybe two last forever and ever, man. But you never know. You never know. Always try to be good to people, and it sounds like that's what you do, Ethan Jones. And you're selling jewelry, man. At what is it, Mayors?
Mayors, yeah. Mayors Jewelers.
Mayors Jewelers,
Boca
man.
Mall.
So
no, it's crazy.
yeah.
I was gonna say it's crazy because one of the main things I was worried about is being paid, the money and all that. And so I was kind of worried, I'm going to go into sales and all that. But I in the first 2 weeks that I've been here, I've already sold a couple of watches, which is apparently not very common. Apparently, people don't really sell anything for the first month or so. But I've already sold a couple, and I mean, I've already made as much as I do in a month back there at this new job, and it's only been a week and a half realistically. So that's also a good thing, because now that I'm moving, I'm going to have to get a new car and pay rent and this and that. And luckily it seems like it'll be a little bit easier to do all that.
Go get him, Ethan Jones, man. Sounds like you're moving up, and we're only at the start of your life, man. You got another 100 years ahead of you if things keep going the way they are in medicine and improvements and such. I could imagine you living another 100 years, man, doing some good stuff, doing good for the world.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else you want to explore, Ethan Jones, or any last words for the people? Let the people know how to get a hold of you and connect with you.
Yeah, so I mainly use Instagram. It's my favorite social media. It's Meep1111, so it's MEEP1111. And I post a lot of stories there about my daily life and stuff. And a lot of the posts are a little bit dated, so I gotta keep up with it. But yeah, that's pretty much the main contact I have right now. But if you guys are ever in the Boca area and go to the Boca Mall, I guess you can come by Mayors and see if I'm there and, give me a wave. So.
Ethan Jones, we're going to put that on the What Makes You Famous walking tour. Go to the Boca Mall and look up Ethan Jones, man. And if you can't make it to Boca, you just keep following him on the MEEP1111 Instagram. Meep1111. Why Meep?
So, okay, I'll tell that story pretty quick. It was an interesting one.
Go for it.
There's a character in the show Phineas and Ferb.
Love that show.
Meep. Yeah, but it's spelled MEAP. But as a kid, I thought it was MEEP. So I made my first email, which had that name in it. And when I got my first Xbox 360 from my uncle, because he kept building or repairing the old one, it automatically gave me the name Meep1111 just as a randomly generated one. And it's just kind of stuck with me. And so I've had different variations of that name through different platforms just because it makes it a little bit easier to, follow me. But yeah, it's just, I never really felt the need to change it. And it's different enough and short enough to where it's memorable. So that's why.
Going to Phineas and Ferb. Ethan Jones, aren't you a little young to be doing so well in the watchmaking business?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You're supposed to answer yes. Yes, I am.
Yes. Yes, I am. Yeah. But yeah, it's been crazy, I mean, I don't know, it's like I think about it, and in the time that, not to sound braggadocious, but just to give an example of how hectic it's been the last couple of years, in the time that most people will go and graduate high school and then get a AA in college, I've already gone through a full school, I got a career, and then I made a full career change, and I have I've had 2 full-time jobs in that time frame, and it just complete hecticness the whole time. So
Ethan Jones, that's called School of Life, baby. Live it, learn it, love it.
Yeah.
All right, my man.
So I guess. Yeah.
Now, hey, I mean, maybe we'll catch up as time progresses, man. If anything, other interesting prospects come to fruition. Until then, any last words for the people, Ethan Jones?
I would just say look into trade schools. They're definitely a real thing, and there's a lot of different kinds. So it's a very good alternative to college in case you're maybe wondering, is this for me or is there something better? And other than that, like you said, be nice to everybody, and just in general, just make yourself happy. That's the most important thing.
Ethan Jones, to quote Mark Wahlberg, say hello to your mother for me.
Yeah, there you go.
Talk to you later, man.
All right, thank you.
Well, there you have it, party people. Ethan Jones, young man of the future. I know we talked to Indy Annie Jones, and now we talk to Ethan Jones. We're slowly collecting the whole set of Joneses right here on the What Makes You Famous podcast. Very talented family, I'll tell you. And intricate work, man. Working on watches and learning from the best of the best, the Swiss watchmakers of Swatch Watch. He's Omega certified. So, man, it was good talking to Ethan Jones. I knew it was going to be a lot of fun. And now he's in Boca at the Boca Mall selling for Mayors Jewelers. So go and find him. Do it right now. I'll wait. All right. Ethan Jones, thank you so much for being on the program. What Makes You Famous? Hopefully you come back as things progress, man, and we'll learn more about you as time watches. I get it. Ha! I made a pun and I wasn't even trying. If you want to tell your story on the What Makes You Famous podcast, I encourage you to do so. Give me a call at 501-470-6386 or email info@radio